All right, good evening, everybody. David Paul with you in the KHOU 11 Weather Center. It is Monday evening. We wanted to step in here and give you an update on the approaching Arctic blast, and we'll be doing this every evening this week as we get closer and closer to some very cold, some dangerously cold air coming out of, well, it came out of the Arctic Circle, came across from Siberia, coming out of Canada now. It gets here on Thursday afternoon. So Thursday afternoon, temps will go from about 70 and very quickly drop down to freezing, not too long after sunset. And then we'll be below freezing, it looks like, for at least a day and a half, not getting back above freezing until Saturday afternoon. So temps in the teens and 20s. That'll be the coldest morning going into Friday morning, with wind chills that may drop down into the single digits or below. I'll show you the wind chill forecast here in just a moment. Definitely now is the time to think about, if not take action, to protect people. Think about the layers you'll wear in the very cold conditions Friday morning, during the day on Friday and Saturday morning. Pets need a warm place to go and some food. They need water as well. Plants, this is a tough one because this is going to be a wind-blown freeze event. So even covering plants with a sheet, that wind's going to get up underneath there. So if you can bring them in, that's the best thing to do. And then the pipes, we'll talk more about that as we move along. In general, if you're home and we have temperatures 20, 19, 18 degrees in your home and you're running your heat, your pipes in Houston should be fine. That's the way history has shown over the past 25, 30 years. It's if you're not home and your heat's off, or you're out of town, your heat's off, or if we get a power situation and the heat goes off, that's when temperatures like this can damage or freeze pipes that are exposed in the walls, on an exterior wall. You know, they're inside the wall, but an exterior wall or up in your attic, because in Houston, when we build, we don't insulate the pipe. So we'll talk more about that as we move along. Here is the way temperatures stand across the USA on Monday night. We're at 50 here in Houston. Dallas is 45. It's been a cold, rainy day today. 5 degrees in North Platte, 11 below in Bismarck. So this is the leading edge right here of the real Arctic air. It's already kind of in place on the Canadian-U.S. border. But what I want to do first is take you over to Siberia. If you were with us last week, we were watching the bitter cold air building in Siberia. And at that time we had, well, I know Kendiga at one point dropped to 61 degrees below zero, minus 61. Shrednikolimsk last week at this time was about 35 below zero. They're 8 above zero right now. So there's been a big warm-up take place in Siberia. How did that happen? Well, the cold air that was here indeed has moved across the Arctic Circle and into North America. It's here in Canada and Alaska. Carmax is 41 below zero. Old Crow's 43 below zero. Whitehorse 38 below. Yellowknife 24 below. Kugluktuk's at 8 below. The heart of the Arctic air is really right in here. That's the air that was in Siberia that we were tracking and came right across the Arctic Circle and now is in place to eventually be delivered down into the lower 48 and all the way down here to Houston. And that's exactly what is about to happen. And that is because of the jet stream pattern that is going to open up this deep trough. And that basically is like opening the barn door for the cold air to just come on down, comes right down the front range of the Rockies and into Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama. It's going to get very, very frigid across the deep south and the Great Lakes, where they'll have a significant snowstorm with all of this. Here's a little closer look on the timing of the front. So this is Thursday morning, 6 a.m. We'll start at 46, chilly but not bad. Meanwhile, at the same time, it'll be 14 below up in Nebraska. We get into Thursday early afternoon. So at this point, the front's just to our north. We're near 70. Dallas is below freezing at 30. You can see Oak City's at 10 degrees at that point. That's Thursday at 1:30. After that, the bottom falls out in Houston, with temps dropping below freezing before 9 o'clock Thursday night. And then they won't get back above freezing until maybe midday or afternoon on Saturday. So a day and a half, maybe as much as 2 days below freezing in some spots. Here's a higher resolution look at our forecast temperatures. This is Thursday at 4 in the afternoon. At that point, you can see where the front is, coming right into downtown Houston. 44 College Station, compare that to 72 in Angleton at that point. It'll be a tremendous temperature contrast, and the temp will drop 20 degrees in just a couple of minutes and then continue to drop as it comes through. This is by Thursday at 9 p.m. You know, almost everybody inland is below freezing at that point, with only the coast a little bit above freezing, and then everybody drops down below freezing, even the coastal areas, as we get into Friday morning. Friday morning looks like our coldest morning, forecasting a low of 19 in Pearland, Spring a low of 18. Huntsville 15. So it's these temperatures 15, 16, 17. That's where experience tells us that it's cold enough to begin to impact even exterior pipes on exterior walls in a home where the heat is at about 65 degrees or so, but especially those exposed pipes. So pipes like the faucet coming out of your home that you hook a hose up to, you want to wrap that up so that the wind can't blow even more cold air into it, and it allows the heat from the bricks of your home or inside your home to keep it warm. So wrap it with a towel, or they sell these covers at hardware stores you can put over those. That's the best thing to do. If you have an irrigation pipe for your sprinkler system, that plastic pipe that comes up, comes over and down, has a Venturi valve in it to release pressure, a backflow valve, you want to make sure that that is wrapped up nicely. You can get some insulation, then wrap it with a towel and use some duct tape to hold it in place, because the wind is going to be blowing as well. We'll get to that in just a minute. So those are the pipes that are at most risk. Also, if your home's on pier and beam, a lot of homes in the Heights are on pier and beam, you want to stop that wind from blowing the cold air underneath your house and exposing those exposed pipes coming up out of the ground into your house to that frigid air. So if you can put up pieces of plywood, something to stop the wind from getting up under your house, that's how you can protect those pipes from freezing if you're home and you've got the heat running and all that. Stopping the wind from blowing up underneath the house can really help to stop any type of threat there. But those are the pipes that really are at risk in this. The problem is this is going to be an extended period of below freezing. So we go down into the teens, and then Friday afternoon, we don't get above freezing. High temps only in the upper 20s, and we're back into the low 20s for Saturday morning. So you really do want to take this seriously and make sure exposed pipes are wrapped up, or they do face a significant threat of breaking. Let's talk about the wind. So this is Thursday at 9 p.m. As temperatures are dropping below freezing, winds gusting to 40 in Sugar Land, 41 Wharton, gusting to near 40 in Conroe. Now remember, minimal tropical storm force winds are 39 miles an hour. So tropical storm force gusts with temperatures below freezing as we head into Thursday night. You do not want to be out in that. When we go into Friday morning, this is when temps are dropping down into the upper teens and mid-teens in our northern counties. Still have winds gusting to near 30 or above for inland areas, still gusting to near 40 on the coast. So the wind, when it hits your skin, it evaporates moisture off your skin. It takes heat away from your body, so it makes it feel colder to your skin when the wind blows against it. That's why we call it the wind chill factor. And this is what temperatures will feel like to your exposed skin on Friday morning. Forecast to feel like 3 degrees in downtown Houston. Forecast to feel like 0 in College Station and Huntsville. Forecast to feel like 12 degrees in Galveston. So clearly this is dangerously cold. Houstonians are not used to this type of cold, and really you want to limit any type of outdoor exposure to this, or just if you can on Friday, it's the day before Christmas Eve, maybe you can take the day off, or maybe you can work from home and you just don't have to get out and how bitterly cold it's going to be on Friday morning. And then again, we stay quite cold Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. So this is Tuesday. We stay chilly, 44 cloudy on Tuesday morning, 49 chilly by noon on Tuesday. Then we'll have a high of about 52, so it's a cool day. Sun comes out in the afternoon. Nice on Tuesday. We look at the extended. Wednesday, it's a cool but beautiful day, 42, 58. Winter officially begins on Wednesday. It's the winter solstice. And then it's Thursday, mid-afternoon, that cold front hits downtown Houston and temperatures will plunge. I've got a high of 68, I've got a low of 45, but probably need to adjust that because our low temperature on Thursday will come late Thursday night and it will be below freezing. That'll be the official low for Thursday. It'll come at a weird time. And then Friday morning, here temperatures, so 18 degrees Friday morning, high temperature below freezing at 31. Even though we're forecasting full sunshine, we don't get above freezing. That's a strange day for Houston. And then we get cold again. It's down to 20 Saturday morning, so just about as cold Saturday morning. So that's a solid 24 hours below freezing, and then it'll take several more hours to get to 38 Saturday afternoon. So we're looking at 30, 35 hours below freezing. That's not as long as we stayed below freezing during the big freeze of February 2021. We had an extended period of freezing temps for 44 hours and temperatures were colder. If I remember correctly, 13 degrees was the coldest temperature measured at Bush Intercontinental Airport during the February 2021 big freeze, 13 degrees. So instead of 18, we had a low of 13. So that's 5 degrees. That's significantly colder. And that was at Bush. If I remember at Conroe, they dropped down to, I believe it was 8 degrees was their coldest temperature. So that's much colder than what we're forecasting this time. So what I'm saying is, even though this is going to get very cold and you need to protect the exposed pipes, this is not forecast to be as bad as that 2021 freeze. And of course, the reason everybody's pipes burst is because the power went out. When the power goes out in your home, if you're heating your home and you're inside, it can get very cold outside, but your pipes aren't going to burst because there's heat from your heater and it goes into the attic and the wall spaces, and you can open your cabinet doors and the warmth goes against those pipes that are against the wall, and they don't freeze. But because the power went out, no one could heat their home, and everybody's home just dropped down and got cold, and those exposed exterior walls got below freezing and everybody's pipes froze. We had a similar thing happen in 1983. We had a cold snap not too dissimilar to this. It was a little longer in 83, and it was people who went out of town and had left their heat off, came back to flooded homes because their pipes had burst because they had left their heat off. So if you are leaving, or you know someone is, leave your heater on at least 65 degrees, at least 65 degrees. That's what I recommend. That's what I do, so that the interior walls stay warm and you run a much, much, much lower threat of being frozen. 89 was the same thing. We didn't lose power, but we had people who went out of town, came back to flooded homes and busted pipes because of the very bitter cold temperatures. Okay, so that is where we stand right now. I know that we may have some questions, and so we are with you. Our social media director, Randy Klein, is going to take your questions right now. He's with me live. Randy, shoot.
Yeah, well, the first one we're getting is...
and I'll repeat the question.
Is the chance for snow?
Yes, so is there a chance for snow? So none of the computer models over the weekend or today, none of them, the Canadian, the European, the American, the Japanese model, none of them suggested that we would have any snow. In fact, all of them are coming in bone dry for the entire state of Texas during this event. So at the moment, no, there is no snow in the forecast Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Nope.
Okay, Marilyn wants to know about the chances of losing power.
Chances of losing power. So weather-wise, the only chance for losing power would be a gust of wind to 40 that brought down a limb that came down on a power line. Then you could lose power in some localized areas. I think it's likely that we'll see at least a few spots, maybe a street or two here or a small neighborhood here that could lose power Thursday night when that front comes in and we get those wind gusts of 40. But other than that, we're not forecasting any widespread power outages, and as long as they're spotty, they can get out there and fix it pretty quick before any type of temperature emergency begins to happen.
Okay, Kelly and Angie are both asking about possibility of ice on the roads.
Kelly and Angie, great question. Will there be ice on the road? Well, not from anything falling from the sky. Again, we are not forecasting any type of ice, sleet, or snow with this event. Looks like we'll be sunny through the entire event. That's the way the models have it right now. The only risk you run is that if there is a water main, or maybe somebody's sprinkler system has just gone crazy and maybe broken a pipe and there's water has gone out on the street, and that could freeze in temperatures like this. So that would be Thursday night into Friday, and then I think especially Friday night into Saturday morning. That at that point we will have been below freezing for more than 24 hours, and that's when, if there's water on the road from a broken pipe or an irrigation pipe or something that's coming on the road, that could freeze. But nothing is forecast to fall from the sky as far as ice right now.
Okay, and related to that, Jose is asking, can those models change?
Jose asks if the computer models can change. Well, they can, and that's why we're doing these nightly updates. This is the first one. It's Monday evening here, and we'll be doing these every evening all the way through Friday and leading up to the Christmas weekend. just in case forecasts change. The thing is, we live right next to this moisture source, the Gulf of Mexico, and it has a hugely powerful influence on our weather, and it is its influence that can make forecasting very, very challenging. It's a world that I live in every day, trying to forecast here, and it's a blast, it's fun, I love doing it, but that body of water, it makes it challenging because you've got this huge, basically think of it as an energy source sitting right next to you. And so yeah, forecasts sometimes change. As it stands right now, nope, no precip, but we'll continue with the updates until we zero in on it going into Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay. And Carrie is asking about the overpasses and bridges.
Yeah, it's a great question. Carrie's asking about any ice on bridges and overpasses, and the short answer is no. We're not expecting any type of ice, sleet, or snow from the sky, so nothing to get on the bridges and overpasses. So at the moment, there are no plans to sand or salt any roads because there just isn't any precipitation with this. It looks like a dry, cold event, but as we've just discussed, sometimes we get surprises, so we'll keep you updated each evening here as we go through this weekend to Christmas.
Okay, Linda in Overton is asking, she has a water well pump. Do I need to worry?
Okay, Linda has a water well pump in Overton. Yes, you need to take measures to make sure that's wrapped up and protected from the cold as best you can. If it's out there and exposed, it absolutely can freeze. If you have a pool, like it's not too dissimilar from a pool pump. Back in the days when I had a pool, yeah, you want to make sure that thing kept running and ran overnight, and I would let it run all the way through the freeze so it wouldn't freeze up. That moving water would keep it from sitting still and freezing. So if you can do that to protect your well pump, you may want to do that, or contact whoever is in charge of maintenance on that pump, or if you have someone who works on that pump, and ask an expert who may know a little bit more than I do about well pumps. That's my best analogy is the pool pump. You want to keep it running and keep it moving.
Okay, that looks like all the questions, except one more that just came in.
Okay, one more question.
About, I guess it's anything really outside, but somebody's asking about your bees. Are the bees going to be okay?
So the bees will be fine. So bees have been around since the Cretaceous period. Back with dinosaurs and back when flowering plants were evolving, that's when bees evolved. And they evolved this wonderful way of staying warm. What they do is they make honey, and they store that honey in their beehive. And they got really, really good at pulling nectar out of flowers and putting it in this little honeycomb and storing it for the cold days of the winter. That's why they make honey. It's for cold days like this. This is why bees make honey. So when it gets cold, what they do is they go into their honey reserves, all these tens of thousands of bees in there, and they sip the honey, and then they go and they gather around the queen. And they'll be like a ball around the queen. And what they do is they burn the calories in that honey they've ingested, they shiver, and they give off heat. And they keep that queen at about 91 degrees. In that little ball, they keep a little spot in there, in that beehive, about 90, 91 degrees. They never let it drop below that. And that's how they protect the queen. The hive basically is the queen. And so they work to protect her. And that's what all the beehives across Texas and everywhere will be doing. They'll be consuming those stores of honey so they can burn off those calories and shiver around the queen and keep her warm. So that's a great question. Yes, the bees will be fine. They have evolved in weather like this, and they know what to do. Great question.
Okay, great answer. And then the only other question we have left is Genesis, who is asking if this will be anything like the freeze that we've already had, that we had last year.
Sure, the February of 2021. It's not as bad. It shouldn't be as long. And as long as the power stays on, we shouldn't have nearly the problems, any of the problems that we had. I expect we'll see some isolated pipe bursts, isolated, but as long as the power stays on, should be good to go. I think irrigation pipes, the ones that are exposed, are going to suffer a lot of breaks. Okay, we can repair those. They're plastic. That's the way I see this going down. I've lived through a lot of freezes. We've gone into the teens. And none of my neighbors' houses or nobody I knew had any type of problems with breaking pipes. It's really got to get down into the mid and lower teens for an extended period of time to threaten the house pipes. So exposed pipes, yes. House pipes, I don't think so.
Daniel's got a great question to probably wrap it on.
Okay.
What is your number one and your biggest advice we should take for this freeze?
Number one piece of advice, man, I would just stay at home if you can. Stay in the warmth. There's no need to go out. What I would do is, in the next couple of days, just make sure you've got a little extra food, a little extra, maybe water. If the power goes out, you may have water issues. Maybe a little bit of extra supplies. It's always good to be, sort of self-contained, so you know that for a day or two, if something weird happens, if something unforeseeable happens like did last year, you've got supplies for a couple of days. You can just stay put, stay at home, get some blankets, get some food, and that way you don't have to put yourself in harm's way and get out there and get something when it's bad outside. That would be my personal piece of advice to everybody. All right, so there we are. Great questions. We will update this again tomorrow evening around this time. Until then, stay warm, enjoy the rest of the week. Merry Christmas, and we'll all stay warm together through this.